had to say, starting with the Republican and Democratic leaders.
Well, last night, the President shared a hopeful vision of a bright future for our country. In part, he reminded us that the future is bright because of big steps we've taken together in the past 2 years to move the nation forward. Steps like historic tax reform that has helped middle-class families across America keep more of what they earn. The regulatory reforms that have amped up our economy and fueled job creation. The landmark legislation we passed to combat the opioid epidemic. The long-needed investment in our armed forces that's given our service members the tools and the training they need to keep us safe. As I mentioned yesterday, some of these accomplishments were delivered by Republicans alone. But the lion's share of them were bicameral and bipartisan. They combined the ideas and priorities of both sides of the aisle in both chambers of Congress. So even though I know our Democratic colleagues' first instinct these days is to reflexively criticize anything President Trump says or does, I hope they took some pride in the strong state of our union, which the President described. This great country belongs to all of us, and it's going to take all of us to keep moving forward. As the President put it, cooperation, compromise, and the common good. Last night, the President highlighted in particular the national challenges he sees as most urgent and as top priorities for his administration this year. Tackling them will require the same bipartisan spirit here in Congress. He restated the administration's commitment to addressing the humanitarian and security crisis at our nation's southern border, to fighting on behalf of American workers and job creators, to rebuilding America's infrastructure, to helping simplify families' budgets by lowering the cost of health care and prescription drugs. On these and other challenges, the American people deserve the full attention of a fully functioning Congress. They deserve a Democratic Party that puts the public interest ahead of political spite and comes to the table to negotiate necessary compromises. Well, it won't be long before we'll see if this institution can rise to the occasion. The next deadline for appropriations will arrive in a little over a week, and members in both chambers will need to prove we can move past making points and start actually making a difference. Throughout the coming year, if we're serious about advancing meaningful policy, this basic requirement will remain the same. Good faith efforts between a Democrat-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate and President Trump's administration. Another challenge the President mentioned is the ongoing obstruction of his nominations to the executive branch and the federal courts. He was absolutely right about that. To an historic degree, Senate Democrats have slow-walked well-qualified nominees, gumming up committee consideration, and burning weeks of valuable time here on the floor. As I've said time and time again, this mindless obstruction is unacceptable. So I was encouraged that the President took an opportunity last night to highlight for the nation exactly what we're up against in this regard. We're into the third year of his presidency, the third year. The American people deserve a fully functioning and fully staffed federal government after 3 years. And it's time for their elected representatives to be part of the solution. I know several of our colleagues are discussing ways to help the Senate better fulfill its duty in this area. I hope there can be cooperation from the other side of the aisle to identify and advance a durable and fair solution. So, Mr. President, President Trump offered a clear picture of the ways in which our policies are delivering significant results for families across America and the urgent challenges that we need to confront together. He offered us a powerful reminder that America's strength and goodness are inextricably linked with our commitment to individual liberty and free enterprise, and that we can never allow the United States of America to dim our light by sliding into the failures of socialism. Socialism has failed everywhere it's been tried, and we're not going to try it in this country. We need to do right now what we need to move forward together. The brief Democratic response showed us one potential way forward. Our colleagues across the aisle could simply deny the facts in front of us about the progress that has taken place, progress which middle-class families all across America can tangibly feel, and wheel out the same tired, forgettable cliches to try and divide our nation along political lines. But the President offered a chance to walk together, unified, along a higher road. Both the tone and the substance of his speech would strike any fair observer as reasonable and thoroughly bipartisan. Once again, the only way this divided Congress will be able to choose greatness and deliver significant legislation for the American people is by focusing on, as President Trump put it, cooperation, compromise, and the common good. That will need to be our motto moving forward. The nation we love deserves no less, and the American people will be watching us.
Now, Mr. President, last night, President Trump had